Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Hong Kong and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel quite a few times before. So I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last little while, quite a few different styles, and if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they are just pretty solid all round. They're getting a little bit more prolific in their output, they're trying lots and lots of different styles, and they're definitely one of the really up and coming Hong Kong breweries that you should check out. But the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I've tried from this brewery once before, and I was pretty impressed with that actually. This one uses some different adjuncts and things, so I think it should be quite interesting from that perspective. And I've also had a lot of quite prominent people in the Hong Kong beer industry telling me that this is one I really need to try. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head over to Kowloon City, which is a little bit to the east of me here, on the Kowloon side of Hong Kong, of course. To be specific, we're going to go to the Sampo Kong area, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Deadman Brewery. So this particular beer is called Frank the Tank. It comes in at 6% ABV, and this one is a smoothie sour, or to be specific, a strawberry peach vanilla smoothie sour. So yeah, the last smoothie sour I had from these guys appeared on the channel a couple of weeks ago. That was the Son of the Beach, which was orange and vanilla, if I'm not mistaken. And I really enjoyed that actually, and I bought these two roughly around the same time. These are beers that I've been meaning to review for a little while actually. But yeah, lots of people have told me this is very good. I was impressed with the last smoothie sour I had. So I think it's about time that we crack this one open and get the review done. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Deadman Brewery before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the very near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Hong Kong playlist along with a number of other things. That's being added to quite regularly, of course, since I am now based here in Hong Kong. But do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some really interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Deadman Brewery once again. So Deadman Brewery, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in the Sampo Kong area in Kowloon City, on the Kowloon side in Hong Kong, and the brewery was founded back in 2018 by Jerry Ko and Sherman Chan. These guys are both local Hong Kongers, and they were old school friends that used to play basketball together really quite often. So Sherman has a sports bar in Kwun Tong called The Stadium, and he discovered craft beer through the salespeople that were supplying him for the bar, and he was looking to have some more interesting beers to serve in the bar, and so this was what pushed him to look more down the kind of craft beer route. So Jerry was apparently exposed to craft beer while studying veterinary science in Canada, and this prompted him to start homebrewing, which apparently he used to do on his rooftop. But he then bumped into an old friend on a tour of Lion Brewery who was interested in starting his own brewery, and things just went from there. And it turned out that that friend was Sherman. So the brewery is apparently named Deadman because they say that everyone in Hong Kong is a dead man walking, just working their arses off. But this plays into the brewery's skull symbol and zombie artwork, which you can see. I'll show you a little bit more close up in a second. But yeah, the first beer they produced was the Dirty Pale Ale, which was released back in 2018. But the current head brewer of Deadman Brewery is Jason Lee. Jason studied chemical engineering at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and apparently during his course, like he took a brewery, a trip to a brewery in mainland China, and it was this that apparently inspired him to become a brewer. So when he got home, he googled beer in Hong Kong, and then Moonzen appeared, so he joined them as a brewing intern during the summer of 2017, and he later went on to work for Young Master, where he started on the packaging line, and then he worked his way up to senior brewer. But he also started a brand called OCBD Beer in 2020 with his friend Chung Ka Ming, and then he joined Deadman as their head brewer in July of 2020. But these guys operate a 500 litre Chinese brew kit, and they're currently producing around 6,000 litres of beer per month, which translates to about 70,000 litres of beer per year. The beer was originally released in bottles, but they switched to cans in 2020 after they bought an American canning line, and apparently they're planning to open up their own bar at some point in the fairly near future. But over the years, they've continued to develop new recipes and expand the brewery's fermentation capacity and build up their sales, and the main man in that regard is Ashwan Prabhu, who is known locally as Deadman Ash, and everybody knows Deadman Ash because he's a lovely guy, and you'll always see him at the various beer events and things like this. But the Deadman artwork is apparently the brainchild of Jerry, and then the brewery workers will sit down and have a few beers to kind of brainstorm the name of any new beer that they produce, and the final sketch that Jerry produces is then passed on to a professional ghost artist who adds the colour and finishes off the idea before it's put on the label and the beer is released. But yeah, like I said, over the years these guys have been building up a very good reputation for themselves, and they've become known as quite a well-rounded brewery. Their beers are doing very, very well and getting a lot of praise, quite rightly so in my experience. But as of September 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 70 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that number will no doubt continue to increase as time goes on. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Deadman Brewery for the moment. This is review number 6 or 7, I think, that I've done involving these guys, as well as the out and about video. But yeah, do go and check out those other reviews and check out the out and about video as well. But if you want to learn more about this brewery, check out the brewery website, follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then and have a wee look at the beer itself. So yeah, as you can see, the artwork on this one is pretty interesting. The Frank the Tank, I'm not sure why it's the kind of underwater theme in this case, to be honest with you, but yeah, the Frank the Tank, 6% smoothie sour, as we mentioned. It tells you on the side here, if you tried our Son of the Beach, then you must try the strawberry peach vanilla smoothie sour. Like a melted frozen yogurt, it will make all your taste buds pop. Try mixing it with our Son of the Beach and gulp it up in the summer heat. Yeah, that's something I will need to try, maybe for a video, or maybe do that with Ash at some point, so that could be quite interesting. But yeah, plain silver top on the can there with the blue ring pull, which is the trademark of Deadman Brewing. 330ml can. I think this beer cost me like 30, maybe 35 Hong Kong dollars, about £3.50 sterling, €3.75, $4 American, something like that. But yeah, strawberry peach vanilla smoothie sour, this one, 6% ABV. We'll just give it another wee quick roll to shake it about because it's been in the fridge. Top it upside down, and there we go. So let's get this guy out into the glass and see what it's all about. This should be good. That does look nice, actually, I have to say that. There we are. So, before the head disappears on this one, I gave that a little bit of an aggressive pour there. The camera's not sitting nicely. That annoys me how it does that. But yeah, you can see with this one, before the head disappears, it poured with a lovely half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of orange tinted head there. I'll just let you have a little look at the colour of that before it kind of disappears. But you can see some medium sized bubbles like sitting on the surface of liquid there, and it gets a little bit more kind of foamy the further up that you go. But yeah, colour wise, this one, it actually looks a little bit like tomato soup. It's kind of interesting. The colour of this beer really is a bit akin to you know, Heinz tomato soup. But yeah, remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few different things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. And remember, that's one of the big factors when it comes to the more modern sour beers like this. Much of the colour of this beer will be down to the presence of the peaches and the strawberries here, but not much in the way of visible carbonation with this one, just one or two bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones kind of going up toward the bottom of the head there. But all in all, it does look like a pretty damn nice beer, and you can see the haziness in this one. That'll be down to the oat and the wheat that's in here, and of course probably the fruit pulp and things like that that's going into it as well, because quite often with smoothie sours, to brew these you will use like fruit puree basically. But yeah, all in all, it goes together really quite nicely. I don't think we need to say anything else about the appearance of this one, in honesty. It looks pretty much as I would expect from a smoothie sour. So yeah, let's have a wee look at that nose then and see what we get. Oh, that smells really nice. As I've often said, for me, the smoothie sours, quite often they're very straightforward beers in terms of their like flavour and aroma profiles, but if they're done nicely, they're just absolutely great things to drink. I've just knocked the bloody camera again. I don't know why it keeps, I think it's the zoom thing on this one, it keeps playing silly buggers. But yeah, smoothie sours can be really nice beers to drink, but very straightforward in a lot of ways, but they're great summer beers. For me, this beer, it gives you everything you want. You've got the lovely big juicy fruitiness, you've got that big creamy backbone out of it, the little touch of sweetness in there as well, and just a tiny little bit of the green placebo. This is going to be very good. Oh, yeah. A lot of people have been saying this is awesome, and just going from the aroma, I think I can see why. But yeah, let's just break the aroma down then and describe this a bit more in depth. So for me, the backbone of this beer, you do get a little bit of you do get a little bit of like a kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. There's wee hints of wood, wee hints of cracker, but for the most part, the aroma in this beer is very much kind of like yogurty. You know, like if you think of Muller Corner, Petit Filou, these kind of things, it's really very much like that. And that, of course, is the oat and the wheat just combining together to yeah, that is very much just the oat and the wheat kind of combining together to give you this big giving you this big yogurty type note. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is really nice in this one. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So like I say, it takes your nose a little bit of time to adjust to this one, because it's so like sweet and yogurty on the beginning, but it's only once your nose kind of gets used to that and gets past it that you can detect those other little subtleties. So like I say, for me, there's a little bit of like underneath that, there's a little bit of like brown bready bread crust. There's definitely a wee hint of wood. There's a little bit of cracker. Lovely big kind of brown bready notes out of it. Big white bready characters in there. Then on top of that, you're getting the big yogurty sort of notes coming out of it as well. So yeah, lovely big kind of yogurty notes in there. Yeah, the yogurty character is quite interesting in this one, because that's where you get much of the vanilla. So it's got this really big vanilla yogurty type note out of it, but at the same time there's a little hint of like, you know, Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch sitting on top of that. So you do have this little element of kind of sweet brown sugary character within there. But yeah, big vanilla yogurt, a little bit of kind of Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch in this one. Yeah, I don't know if there's too much else to say about the malty side of the beer than that. So the yeasty side of things, in the yeasty side of the beer, in the back of the nose, for me, yeah, the yeasty side of things for me is quite interesting, because it has a little bit of that, yeah, it's got a little bit of a kind of, how would you say, yeah, it's got a little bit of a kind of brown bready character to it, and a little bit of white bread. You're getting some of the kind of vanilla. It's like almost like a vanilla sponge cake in a sense, actually. And the other thing I'll say about this beer generally is that it has this aroma that's almost akin to like Skittles. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together in this one, I think, is really quite interesting. So it gets a thumbs up from me in that regard. This beer is quite quirky, and it's got yeah, it has got a few interesting things going on with it, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, Skittles, and then that kind of, it's a little bit of a kind of mix of brown bready and vanilla sponge kind of character coming out of the yeasty side of things. Now, with this beer, I'm pretty sure that there's no hops being used in this, or if there has, it's very little. So when it comes to sour beer breweries and brewing sour beers, it's often interesting to ask brewers what their hopping mentality is. Because back in the day with the Flanders Reds and stuff like this, what brewers would do, pardon me, is that they would add older hops to the beer that had lost a little bit of their alpha acid potency, because they didn't want the bitterness of the hops to detract from the overall sourness of the beer. These days with the modern sour breweries, a lot of breweries will ask the question, oh, we're putting lots of fruit into the beer as an adjunct anyway, that's going to suppress the green component, what's the point of even using hops? Valid question. So for modern kind of smoothie sours like this, it's not that common to use hops. You will get some breweries though that will do the fruited kind of kettle sours and then they'll add in the they'll add in the hops anyway, just to give you a little bit more complexity of flavour. For example, in Sweden, the likes of Fermenterarna, Duck Pond, Elmeliven, they don't use hops, whereas in Scotland, the likes of Holy Goat and Vault City, they will use the hops in their beers, just to give you that little bit more of a complex flavour. So yeah, really interesting stuff actually when it comes to sour beers. But with this one, you can tell from the kind of smoothness on the green side of things that it's not really yeah, you can tell with the smoothness on the green side of things that it's not really how would you say, it's not using any hops, I don't think, but we'll see if we can figure that out in the taste. But that said, you do still get a little bit of green placebo out of this one. Like there's a little touch of kind of earthiness, and there's a bit of like grassiness and floral character coming out of this one. So yeah, the way that it all pieces together, I think, is really, really nice. So yeah, for me, the kind of green component and the green component and of this one, yeah, mostly grassy, a little bit floral. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is really interesting. Now, when it comes to the fruity side of things, it's pretty obvious with this one. You've got that nice peachy sharpness in there, and then you've got the big juicy strawberry underneath. So the peachy character in this beer is definitely giving it that more kind of pungent aroma. The strawberry is giving you all the juiciness. I mean, you have got little other elements in there of like maybe blackcurrant or you know, a little bit of apricot and stuff like this. I very often get apricot in a lot of these beers. But yeah, it is all about the peach and the strawberry. There's no getting around that at all. But yeah, aroma wise, this is a really, really nice tasting beer, or a smelling beer I should say. I've not tasted the thing yet, but as I always say, take a little bit of time just to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think it is about time that we try this one and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is the Frank the Tank 6% smoothie sour with strawberry, peach and vanilla from the wonderful Deadman Brewery in Sampo Kong, Kowloon City, here in Kowloon in the Hong Kong SAR. Let's get stuck in. Sláinte, skål, and cheers. Yeah, that's ridiculously good. That's a very, very good smoothie sour, this one. Yeah, I said the same about the Son of the Beach. You know, I think it'd be cool for these guys to experiment with this a little bit more, but just having tried this one and then having tried the Son of the Beach, what you'll find is that these are very juicy and very smooth and actually quite light smoothie sours, I would say. One of the things I've always said about Deadman Brewing's beers is that their mouthfeel is really quite light. I don't know if it's the way they condition their water or exactly what it is, but the Deadman Brewery beers always have this little bit of lightness and this little bit of like drinkability to them, regardless of the style. So yeah, these are things to think about when it comes to this brewery, but that is really good. Lovely kind of summer beer, this one. I do need to get these and kind of mix them together. That would be great. Yeah, that's that really is very good stuff. Again, what I said earlier about these beers being very kind of straightforward in terms of their flavor profiles and stuff, but being really nice to drink, that absolutely applies with this beer. This is really it's really damn good. It gives you everything you want. You've got that big sort of yogurty, kind of sweet and smooth, creamy backbone. You've got the lovely kind of fruity notes coming out of it. The wee bit of grassiness and things in there from the sort of green placebo, and then the big juicy fruits. It's an awesome beer, this one. So I'm going to just say massive thumbs up to Deadman Brewery for this one. This is great. It did actually say on Untappd that this beer is no longer produced by the brewery. If they don't do this again, I think that's a terrible shame. Because and the Son of the Beach as well, I think they need to do these beers more regularly, because these are very, very good. Yeah, let's just break this one down then and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. So middle third of your palate then, the backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely kind of fresh sort of white bready bread crust in there. As you move further forward, you've got a little bit of a more kind of, you've got that brown bready bread crust, you've got a little bit of the woody character in there which lingers into the aftertaste, teeny tiny little bit of cracker, then a kind of sweet layer of like brown bread, a kind of more fluffy and airy layer of white bread. And I will say, the white bread's actually got a little bit of vanilla flavour to it, but then above that you get this almost like sponge cakey layer, and it's vanilla sponge all the way. But then above that you're getting the big yogurty kind of layer that you very often get in these smoothie sours, and of course that's the wheat and the oats combining together to give you this big sort of petit filou fromage frais type thing, and that's very, very apparent in this beer. So yeah, the way that goes together in this one is really, really nice. The yogurty layer in this beer, as I say, lots and lots of vanilla. Lots and lots of vanilla. Big sort of oaty, creamy, yogurty sort of thing in there. And then above that, in the dead centre of the palate, you just feel that little circle there where you've got the Werther's Original, butter candy, butterscotchy sort of notes. And that is, of course, the alcohol side of the beer. I will say that within the kind of yogurty layer too, especially into the aftertaste, you do get a little bit of this almost kind of Skittles type flavour out of this beer. I've been noticing that in a few of the New England hazies, particularly the stronger ones in recent times. They always have this kind of Skittles flavour. So if you go down the middle line of your tongue, you'll kind of find that's where it's most prominent, in all honesty. So yeah, that's quite interesting. But yeah, the way that everything kind of pieces together in this beer, I think, is really quite nice. So yeah, for me, I think that's everything we really need to say about the middle third of the palate. So let's go to the back third of the palate then. As I've often said, sweeter flavours will come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours will come out further back. But yeah, the border region between between middle and back third of your palate, you do get that little bit of kind of bready build up in there, so you'll feel the brown bread, the white bread, and then the kind of vanilla sponge character above that. But then the base of that kind of front third of your palate, it's got a little bit of the kind of white bready bread crust coming out of it. So yeah, white bready bread crust in there. Then you've got the crackery sort of layer, the brown bready layer, which feels a bit lighter, taller, and more airy. The white bready layer above that, which again is a little bit taller, lighter, and more airy. And then yeah, you've got the kind of vanilla sponge cake kind of character just above that, and of course some of the thicker yogurty, creamy kind of notes. Some of the yogurty, creamy kind of notes sitting above that. They sit there as well. Yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah, very, very big, thick, oaty, creamy kind of thing coming out of this one, and a little bit of vanilla to it as well. But yeah, above all of that, you're starting to get the yeasty side of the beer. So the yeasty side of this beer is quite interesting. It feels like a kind of thick, creamy vanilla sponge cake at the middle. Then it's just surrounded by like sort of Skittles type flavour, and maybe a little hint of bread crust. So yeah, the yeasty character in this beer is a little bit unique, but definitely, yeah, the back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you come further forward, it just kind of compresses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, interesting stuff in that regard too. So yeah, if we go on to the hoppy side of things, or the green placebo, as we should really call it in this case. In the back corners of the palate, there is a very slight earthiness in there, very, very slight. As you move further forward from that, you've got a lovely kind of woody character coming out of this beer. So yeah, lovely big sort of woody note coming out of this one. And then as you move further forward from that, it's got a little touch of a floral note to it. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more sort of grassy in a sense, but the sides of your palate are very, very smooth, and that's usually an indicator there hasn't been any hop added into this one. But there's a lot of fruit in this beer, of course, and that's going to suppress any hop that you would put in the beer in the first place. This is what I was mentioning earlier. But yeah, the green component, for me, that placebo green component's got a lovely woody kind of character to it. So that's worth kind of bearing in mind. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I would say the front third of your palate, then that's where all the fruitiness comes out in this beer. Of course, this beer doesn't have such a big sour impact to it, of course, because it's more a sweet smoothie sour. But yeah, the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in there. You've got the kind of brown bread, the white bread, and then the kind of vanilla sponge sitting above that, and the base of that back third of your palate, yeah, you've got a wee touch of kind of brown bready character underneath, or the white bready bread crust, I should say. You've got a little touch of the cracker, quite a bit of woodiness there. Then yeah, the brown bread, the white bread, the vanilla sponge, then you can feel the kind of creamy yogurty layer there, and then the fruity characters just kind of sit on top of that. So I think the peach sits a little bit further back on that front 30 palate, and it gives you a wee bit of sharpness and a wee bit of tartness. But then yeah, the juicy kind of strawberry characters that come out of this one, they give you, yeah, the juicy kind of strawberry characters that come out of this one, they sit further forward on that kind of front third of your palate too. So the way that all of that goes together, I think, is really quite interesting. But as I said, generally speaking, my reviews are always very long and things. This is quite a simple beer in that sense. You don't need to, you don't need to sit and ponder over it a lot. It's just really nice, really juicy, and very, very well done. And I think it's absolutely, it is really very nice. And I do hope that Deadman Brewery do more of these. In all honesty, I think that would be it would be great for them to do that. So yeah, they're obviously very good at this kind of smoothie sour style, so hopefully we'll get more. But yeah, just to round off the review then with a wee look at the mouthfeel, for me, I'd say this one's kind of bottom end of full-bodied. It's not the thickest of smoothie sours that you're going to come across. Like I said, Deadman, for me, their mouthfeel is always a little bit lighter than some other breweries. You always have that element of drinkability with the Deadman beers, but for a 6% smoothie sour, it's great, it's bang on the money. Big, smooth, creamy sort of mouthfeel for sure. IBU wise, I think technically this is 0 IBUs. That doesn't surprise me. The malty base, a wee bit dry underneath, big smooth character in the middle, then the big smooth kind of sweetness on top. Then you've got that juicy, fruity kind of note on the front of the mouth as well. But yeah, all in all, beautiful, beautiful beer, this one. Certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, and I do hope they do more of these smoothie sours, because this was lovely. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Frank the Tank, a 6% peach, strawberry and vanilla smoothie sour from the wonderful Deadman Brewery in Sampo Kong, Kowloon City, in Kowloon here in Hong Kong SAR. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Deadman Brewery as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until then, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, check out my social media, check out Deadman Brewery's social media, and I'll see you guys again in another review very, very shortly. Ciao just now.